Hi, welcome to Verbling. Please click the green Join Class button to join my class today. Today I'm going to be talking to you guys about the immune system. I usually teach these classes about a different organ system each week of the human body. But today I thought, after I chose the immune system, I kind of decided that we're actually going to talk more in general about why people get sick, what makes us get sick, and how we get better. And so I've called the class the immune system, but we're not going to be specifically studying the immune system that much. Instead, we'll just sort of be talking about infection and how people get sick and how people get better. So that will be the focus for today's advanced class. For those of you who have been in my classes before, you know that I like to teach science classes because I studied human biology for my college degree, and I really like a lot of different science topics. I really enjoy physics and chemistry, and I obviously also really enjoy biology. So I like to share that with my Verbling students, especially those of you with an advanced level of English, because I think that these topics are some of the best way to really take your English to the next level. If you feel comfortable with a lot of basic topics, these science topics are a great way to challenge yourself because they're abstract and involve a lot of vocabulary. So hopefully we'll all learn something today, and I'm very happy to see all of you here. As you know, usually I like to have students introduce themselves to the class before we begin. So today I would like to hear from all of you your names, what country you're in, and what, let's see, and just like what's your favorite thing to study academically? So your favorite subject that you like to learn about. Maybe it's current events, maybe it's history, maybe it's, you know, environmental issues, maybe it's chemistry, whatever you like, whatever you're interested in. I'd love to hear about that. So we'll start with Hermine. Are you here?
Yes. Hello, everyone. I'm Hermine from Armenia. My favorite subjects are languages. It's like a hobby for me now. I'm trying to learn some few languages. So
cool.
That's it. Yeah.
So what other languages are you learning besides English?
Yeah, I am learning Turkish, and my teacher here is here in our class now. It is
cool.
Servet. Yes.
Nice.
And also I am learning French, but I am learning French by myself.
I see. Cool. I'm learning French too, obviously, since I live in France. Servet, were you going to say something?
No, I say just, I'm not a teacher, I'm just trying to help you, just friends, not teacher.
Well, you are a good teacher. Okay.
All right, cool, thank you. Okay, Igor is next. Hi, Igor.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. My name is Igor. I'm from Republic of Moldova, and I learn language, English language now. It's my favorite subject to learn about academic.
All right, good, thank you. Okay, is it, in English I would say Irene, but is it Irene?
Hello, how are you? Well,
good, how are you?
I'm from Spain, from Malaga. My favorite subject is biology.
Cool, very nice. I'm thinking about visiting Malaga in March maybe. So, do you think the weather will be okay if I go in March?
Yes, now is a wonderful day.
Oh man, okay.
Yes.
All right, wonderful. Thank you. Okay, next is Mary.
Hi everyone. So my name is Mary. I'm from Algeria, and I used to love mathematics and mathematics issues. I'm in love with that.
Yeah, cool. Very nice.
Sorry?
Really used to love, I really liked calculus, but then I got to linear algebra, and after that I stopped. I think I got too lazy to keep going with it. But I loved calculus. I really liked calculus.
It helps.
All right,
a lot.
thank you. Yeah, yes, it does. All right, wonderful. Next is Mina.
Lovely. Mina, 27, from Egypt. I love studying networking.
Cool. All right, thank you. And afterwards we have Nabor, or is it
Hello.
Alejandro?
Yeah, my name is Nabor Alejandro. I am from Colombia. I like very much arts, and I also like very much languages.
Great, thanks. And next is Raif.
Yes, hello everybody. I'm Raif from Iraq. My favorite subjects are the medical sciences and a little bit physics.
Cool. All right. So kind of like me. My goal is to go to medical school soon, but I have not yet started it. It's my someday. I hope to go in a couple of years.
Good.
All right. Next is Sarah.
Hi, I'm Sarah from Tunisia, and I like studying psycholinguistics. It's about how, like the process of memorizing words.
Interesting. And so you specifically study the mechanisms by which we memorize things?
Yeah.
Cool. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Memory is a really interesting area of science, I think.
Yeah, it is.
All right. Well, thank you. And last is Servet.
Yep. Hello, I'm Servet. I'm from Turkey. At school, I think it was mathematics or geometry. I was very good at. But now, if I were at school now, probably it would be like psychology or languages or like art, because I like drawing with pencil, or maybe photography, this type of things.
Cool. Nice.
Totally different.
Yeah, but it's good to have variety. That's cool. Yeah, I really want to take a photography class because I think photography is so cool, but I've never spent the time to really learn. I just kind of, I think I take some good pictures, but I don't really know what I'm doing.
Yeah. I had a computer program, like an education program I watch, but because I didn't have a professional. I did just have a camera on my cell phone.
Yeah.
It didn't work really.
Yeah.
So I gave up now. For now.
Yeah. Maybe someday you'll have time to take it back up as a hobby.
Yeah, as a hobby in the future.
Yeah.
In future.
All right, cool. Thank you all. I'm very happy to see all of you here today. We'll go ahead and get started with the class material. Again, this is an advanced class, so if you find that I'm speaking too quickly or using vocabulary that you don't know, don't hesitate to ask me or type your questions into the Verbling classes. I'll see them and answer them for you. So don't be afraid if you feel a little bit confused to ask stuff. At the same time, I'm not going to go that difficult on the content because I want to focus more on making sure we're solid on a lot of the science vocabulary. So we're going to get started, and like I said, today's class is called the immune system, but we're not really talking completely about the immune system. We're more talking about getting sick and getting better and how that works in general. So since it's winter time and people are, getting sick more because it's winter time, I thought I would first ask, if you get a cold, let's say, or you get some sort of thing where you're stuck in bed because you're sick, how did that happen? What makes us get sick in general?
So you say what can I catch that?
Yeah,
Why?
basically, yeah. What exactly do we catch that makes us get sick? What is doing that? I think someone said microbes. Did someone say microbes?
Virus.
Yeah. So microbes, like viruses. Oh darn! I think my Verbal Classes chat is not working. All right. Sorry. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna be right back. I'm trying to work on just making sure my typing is working. Give me one.
Yeah.
All right, let me see if that works any better. If not, I'll just have to use a different chat box. Yeah, okay. You guys still can't see what I'm typing into Verbal Classes, right?
No, you can't.
Okay. Yeah, so unfortunately, I'm gonna have to use the Google chat today. That top left-hand chat box, because I'm unable to type into the Verbal one. Yeah, microbes make us sick. Viruses. Okay, viruses can make us sick. The cold is a virus. What are some other things like that make us sick?
Bacteria.
Good, bacteria. Okay, what else?
Infection.
Yeah, the general term for when any of these things make us sick is an infection. Let's see, what about parasites? What's a parasite? What is a parasite?
It's microbe which lives from others.
Yes, yeah, exactly. It lives off of other things. So let's see. An example of a parasite. Well, a big parasite is a leech. Those little things that live in ponds, and sometimes if you go swimming, they latch onto your arm and they suck your blood. Has anyone ever seen leeches before?
No.
No.
Okay, they're very common in lakes in the part of the U.S. where I come from. So that's an example of a parasite. Sometimes you can have.
They need body.
Sorry, what did you say?
They need something to live at.
Yes,
They need
yeah.
blood.
They need something else to live off of. They can't live by themselves. One good example is an intestinal parasite. What's an intestinal parasite? Where does an intestinal parasite live? The name gives you a hint.
Yeah.
Where does an intestinal parasite live?
Testis.
Close.
Testicles.
It's in your
Stomach.
intestines, actually. Yeah, in your intestines.
Food.
Your intestines are the part of your digestive system that comes after your stomach. Those big, curly tubes that digest your food. Those are your intestines. And so an intestinal parasite lives there. And so it kind of eats the food that you eat, and it makes you sick because it doesn't let you digest your food properly. So those usually look like big worms, intestinal parasites. That's not something you want. It's a pretty bad parasite to have.
And I just
What's
see
its name?
There are a lot of different intestinal parasites. Tapeworm is one. Hookworm is another parasite that comes in through your feet, actually, which is really gross.
what is the biggest one? There's really.
Oh, good question. I don't know. Do you know?
No.
Let's check it.
Yeah, because there are some huge worms that can live in people's intestines. I'm Googling it. Oh, no. I just found this thing called the Parasite Picture Gallery, and it's a bunch of pictures of cute worms. Disgusting. That's what happens if you Google largest intestinal parasite. Yeah, it seems like they have a lot of pictures, but I don't know which kind. Maybe no.
Sorry, you don't have to stand this.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Anyway, you can look it up later if you want to know more about those. So yeah, parasites. Another thing that can make us sick is fungi. The singular is fungus. What is a fungus in general?
Like fungi? No, fun.
Like bread.
No idea.
Bread fungus.
Yeah, like bread fungus. Okay, so a fungus in general is the same thing as a mold. So when you leave your bread out for a long time and it gets all green and disgusting, that's mold, and that is a type of fungus. Fungus is the more general term for molds and related things like that. And sometimes fungi can cause diseases. Does anyone know any diseases that are caused by fungi?
Makes you laugh.
I know what is it.
There's one common one that we call athlete's foot. I don't know if this is common in other countries, but at least in the U.S., when you stand barefoot on for instance, in a shower, like that a lot of people use, a communal shower, sometimes you can get mold that will literally grow on your feet. It's really disgusting. And you have to use special spray. That's called athlete's foot. So that just is only on your feet.
But everything is on the skin.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just that athlete's foot is just on your skin of your feet. Just on the skin. But then another fungal disease is called a yeast infection. This occurs in women. Sometimes, so there are a lot of natural bacteria that grow in the vagina, in the vaginal tract, and sometimes if there's an imbalance of those bacteria, you get a growth of yeast, and yeast is actually this yeast is called Candida, is the name of it. Candida is a fungus, and so sometimes this female infection can be caused by a fungus. It doesn't mean that there's mold there. It just means that it's yeast, which is a type of fungus. So it's an infection that is very common in women, actually. But it's easily treatable with antibiotics. What are antibiotics? What are antibiotics?
Medicine kills the bacteria.
Yeah, good. So it's medicine that kills bacteria, and so generally antibiotics kill pretty much all of the bacteria. And so actually yeast infections can be caused by antibiotics because it kills bad bacteria and good bacteria. So actually fungal infections you have to treat with something different. But antibiotics are used for bacterial infections. So yeah, all right. So let's open up. I got a quick article that you can use. It's a pretty good reference for different ways that we get sick. The article is called Germs. Germs is the general term that we use for stuff that makes us sick. So you might say, don't touch the railing on the stairway because it's covered with germs. And germs is the general term, but that can refer to any bad things that make us sick. And so, like we talked about, viruses, bacteria, parasites, and fungi are all sort of considered to be germs because they can all cause infections. I want to talk a little bit about the difference between bacteria and viruses. So can you please open up the article I posted in the Google chat? I posted that link. Open that up, and we're going to talk about what is a virus versus what is a bacteria. So again, sorry that I'm unable to use the verbal in classes, but the link is there in the top left-hand chat box. And the website, I can try to pull it up. And, oh, there it is.
I put the link in the verbal chat.
Oh, thank you. Wonderful. All right, and I'm sharing the article. There we go. And so, okay, so this article, it's by the Mayo Clinic, and it's a general article about germs. And this section down here that's about bacteria and viruses, I think is pretty helpful. So we're going to read through it and talk about the difference between bacteria and viruses. So who would like to read this beginning part about bacteria for me?
Yeah, I can start.
All right, wonderful, Sarah. Go ahead.
Okay. Germs. Understand and protect against bacteria, viruses, and infection. Germs. Learn how germs work and what you can do to protect yourself. Germs live everywhere. You can find germs in the air, on food, plants, and animals, in the soil, in the water, and on just about every other surface, including your own body. Continue?
Sure.
Most germs won't harm you. Your immune system protects you against a multitude of infectious agents. However, some germs are formidable adversaries because they are constantly mutating to breach your immune system's defenses. Knowing more about how germs work can increase your chances of avoiding infection.
Good. Okay, thank you. So this paragraph actually has a lot of really great vocabulary words that I want to go over with you guys before we move on. First of all, we talked about what germs are. What about this word multitude? A multitude of infectious agents. What does multitude mean?
Diverse.
Yeah, good. It means a diverse. It basically means many. A multitude could be referred to as like many diverse infectious agents. So multitude generally means many. Many different infectious agents. What's an infectious agent? What does that mean?
Like harmful invaders, like
Perfect.
bacteria.
Yeah, good. Any harmful invaders like viruses, bacteria, anything that causes infection is called an infectious agent. All right, I like this one. Some germs are formidable adversaries. What does formidable adversaries mean?
They're like they're more
Great
powerful
adversaries.
than others.
Yeah, exactly. Good. So some germs are more harmful than others, and yeah, no, Bora, like you said, they're great adversaries. They're sort of an intimidating enemy. You can use the phrase formidable adversary to describe anyone that you're fighting against. So in a war, you might say, yes, that country is a formidable adversary. They have a lot of weapons and they fight very well. So formidable adversary is usually used when you're talking about fighting someone, but here they use a little bit of literary license, and they refer to these germs as formidable adversaries. So it means if you're not careful, they can hurt you pretty badly. And it says they're formidable adversaries because they're constantly mutating. What does the verb to mutate mean?
Change.
Yes, good. To change. To change.
The genetic construction.
Perfect. Yeah, exactly right. So these viruses and bacteria are changing their genetic information, and they're expressing their genes in different ways, and that's how they mutate. And because they change, they can breach your immune system's defenses. Again, this is an analogy to war. If you are at war with someone, you're fighting, you can say that you're trying to breach their defenses. That means you're trying to invade their city.
What do you mean breach?
Breach means break. Breach means break. Break or break down. And so if you breach someone's defenses, it means you win. You break down their defenses and you get into wherever you're trying to get to. So when germs breach our immune system's defenses, that's when we get sick. When our immune system cannot defend us anymore, we get sick. Okay, and then knowing more about how germs work can increase your chances of avoiding infection. The next paragraph says, infectious agents come in a variety of shapes and sizes. Categories include bacteria, viruses, fungi, protozoa, and helminths. And protozoa and helminths are both, I believe, types of parasites. Let me check. Yeah. Yeah, they're small parasites. So like we said, bacteria, viruses, fungi, and parasites. So let's read about bacteria. Who would like to read these two paragraphs about bacteria?
I can read.
Okay, great. Go ahead, Harina.
Bacteria. Bacteria are one-celled organisms visible only with a microscope or microscope. They are so small. They are so small that if you lined up 1,000 of them end to end, they could fit across the end of a pencil eraser. They are sharp like short rods, spheres or spirals. Not all bacteria are harmful. In fact, less than 1% cause disease, and some bacteria that live in your body are actually good for you. For instance, Lactobacillus Acidophilus, a harmless bacterium that resides in your intestines, helps you digest food, destroys some disease-causing organisms, and provides nutrients to your body. Many disease-causing bacteria produce toxins, harmful chemicals that damage cells and make you ill. Bacteria cause disease such as strep throat, tuberculosis, I don't know if I pronounce it correctly.
Yes, that's perfect. That was perfect.
And urinary tract infections.
Good. Urinary tract infections. Good.
Urinary.
Okay. Thank you. All right. So that's bacteria. They're one-celled organisms visible only with a microscope. So they only consist of one cell each, and you can only see them with a microscope. What is a microscope?
A device that magnified things.
Yeah.
Excellent. I'm sure you've all seen it before. It has a lens, and the scope here, and you use it to magnify small things that you want to look at. All right, cool. They're so small. They're very, very small, and they're shaped like rods, spheres, or spirals. So let's talk about those shapes really quickly. Which of these is rod-shaped bacteria?
The second one.
Good. The second one, these bacilli here. These are rod-shaped. Okay, which ones are sphere-shaped?
Third one.
The third one, yeah. These are sphere-shaped. Here they look like circles, but in reality they're spheres. And then which ones are spiral-shaped?
The first.
Good. These first ones here on the left, these squiggly spirals, those are spiral-shaped bacteria. So spirals, rods, and spheres. Okay, wonderful. Not all bacteria are harmful. Does anyone know? They give this example of this bacterium, Lactobacillus Acidophilus. Does anyone know where that bacterium is found besides in your intestine? Where else is that bacterium found?
The mouth, in the oral cavity.
Oh, okay, quite possibly. Yeah, that's not what I was thinking of, but I'm sure you're right.
Stomach.
Also probably true. There's somewhere not in the human body. Does anyone know where you can find it not in the human body? So it's actually found in yogurt. When you eat yogurt,
yes.
and you see that it has live and active cultures, the biggest, most common one is that one, Lactobacillus Acidophilus. That's a culture or a bacterium that you can find in yogurt. And so sometimes, for instance, if you have been throwing up or if you've had a yeast infection, something where you need to put good bacteria back into your body, doctors will tell you to eat yogurt. I know one time I got food poisoning, and afterwards the doctor told me that I should eat yogurt to replenish my bacteria. So that's where you can find that bacterium too.
And that's why when you eat yogurt with like grains, it helps you to gain weight. No?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I would think so, yeah.
Because that bacteria help you to acquire more energy from grains.
Yeah, exactly, because they probably help your digestive system break down the grains more efficiently. Yeah, cool.
They don't suggest like yogurt with pasta. They say don't eat them together if you don't want to gain weight.
Huh. Yeah, this is interesting. I've actually never heard this before, but I'm sure you're right. That's interesting. Fortunately, I don't usually eat yogurt and pasta together anyway, so I guess I don't have to worry too much. Okay, cool. So the next part, toxins. Toxins are poisons, bad stuff, powerful chemicals that make you sick. And so a lot of bacteria work because they basically poison you. They just produce toxins that poison you. Has anyone here ever had strep throat before? Strep throat. The infection where you have a lot of pain here in your throat.
Is it a sore throat?
It's similar, but it's a bacterial infection where your throat can be so sore that you sometimes can't eat. So it's a very extreme version.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I've had it twice, but that's because I was living in dormitories with a lot of people, and we always got each other sick when I was in college. Has anyone ever had tuberculosis by any chance?
No.
No.
So yeah, and the only reason is maybe if you had traveled to a country where there's a lot of tuberculosis. But has anyone ever been tested for tuberculosis?
No.
No? Okay, so I've had to do this twice because I work in schools and hospitals. And so when you work in hospitals, they make sure you don't have tuberculosis. And they take a needle and they actually shoot some liquid into your arm. And so just here you have a bubble. You have a bubble like this of liquid underneath your skin. It's kind of strange. They just make this bubble, and then the bubble stays like that for, you know, an hour, and then all of a sudden, and then it goes away and your skin is normal again. But if the bubble stays there and the liquid is still in your skin, or if it gets bigger, then you might have tuberculosis. So that's how they test to see if you have it.
Interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. I'm not sure exactly how it works, but I'm just guessing it's something that reacts with the tuberculosis bacterium, and when it reacts, it gets bigger. I don't know.
They put the antigen in your body. And,
that's what it is. It's to elicit it's to see if it elicits an immune response.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Of course. So that's cool. And then viruses. Let's talk about viruses, and then we'll talk about the difference between them. Who would like to read the section on viruses?
I will.
Okay, go ahead.
Viruses are much smaller than cells. In fact, viruses are basically used capsules that contain genetic material. They may be shaped like rods, shaper, or tiny tadpoles. To reproduce, viruses invade cells in your body, hijacking
Good,
the the machinery that makes cells work. Host cells are eventually destroyed during this process. Viruses are responsible for causing a wide range of diseases, including AIDS, common cold, Ebola, hemorrhage. I don't know how to pronounce that.
It's hemorrhagic. You don't pronounce the second H. Hemorrhagic.
Hemorrhagic.
Good, perfect.
Ebola, hemorrhagic fever, genital herpes, influenza, measles, smallpox.
Good, thank you. And then it says antibiotics have no effect on viruses. Okay, so the differences between viruses and bacteria. Viruses are much smaller. Viruses are tiny. They're really small, and they're basically just capsules that contain genetic material. A capsule is just sort of something that surrounds something else. So you basically have DNA and then just a little coat like this, a capsule that surrounds the DNA, and that's your virus. That's a virus. That's it. And so let's see. Again, they come in different shapes, and they reproduce differently from bacteria. How do bacteria reproduce? They don't mention this in the bacteria section. How do bacteria reproduce?
Basically, they split. They split.
They divide.
Yeah,
they divide.
Binary fusion.
Good. They divide using a process that's called binary fission. And that basically just means they kind of double up their DNA and then it just sort of breaks off from each other. They split off like this. And so, yeah, they split apart, they divide. And how do viruses reproduce then?
They make your cell body to produce his DNA.
Good, yeah, okay. So they basically attack the cell and they hijack the cell's machinery. That means they take over the cell and they make it work for them. And they make it reproduce, they make the cell into a factory, basically. They make the cell into a factory that reproduces lots more little viruses. I think of them like, I don't know, like little aliens coming in and taking over a planet, you know, and being like, we're going to make more, and they just crank out more viruses.
It's aliens.
So hijack is like injecting?
No, good question. Hijacking, again, this is sort of an analogy. If you hijack something, it means you steal it from someone. The most common reason we hear the word hijack is car hijacking. Does anyone know what it means to hijack a car?
Yeah, to steal a car.
To steal it?
Okay, and what's the difference between hijacking a car and just stealing a car from a parking lot? Does anyone know the difference?
By force.
Hijacking.
Yes, good. Okay, by force. So when you hijack a car, it usually means that someone's already driving the car. You make them stop driving, you kick them out of the car, and then you take the car and you drive it. So hijacking is stealing something from someone by force. You'd say, stop driving, get out of the car, you know, get out of the car, and then kick them out, and you steal their car.
Got it.
And so the viruses hijack cells because they steal the machinery that the cell is using to reproduce itself, and they reproduce themselves instead. So yeah, the viruses, that's how viruses reproduce. And then host cells are eventually destroyed during this process. So the cells that the bacteria, that the viruses attack, they die. They die.
And even the cancer cell, it acts the same way.
Yeah, yeah. Viruses are very powerful in destroying cells. All right, so it says viruses are responsible for a wide range of diseases. The first one is AIDS. Does anyone know what AIDS is?
Immune deficiency.
Yeah,
Yeast
good.
infection.
Acquired immune deficiency disease.
There you go. Yeah, it's acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. So it's written AIDS, but we just pronounce it as AIDS. Does anyone know the name of the virus that causes AIDS? Does anyone know the virus that causes AIDS?
HIV.
Good. HIV.
Yes,
HIV. Yeah.
Good. HIV is the virus that causes AIDS, and I think it's just called the human immunodeficiency virus. Anyway, HIV, and that virus is responsible for the disease called AIDS. AIDS has become way more common in about the last 30 years. AIDS didn't really exist as a disease before that, but it spread starting in the 1980s, and now it's a big problem in a lot of parts of Africa. It's still a problem in the U.S., and I'm sure it's a problem in a lot of other countries as well. Does anyone know how AIDS is spread as a disease? How is AIDS transmitted?
Sexual transmission.
Yeah, AIDS is a sexually transmitted disease. It's also transmitted through blood. Good. So body fluids, basically. And so if you use a needle that was used by someone who has HIV, you can also get HIV from that.
It's more common in drug abusers.
Yes, good. It's way more common in we call them intravenous drug users. So people who use heroin and other drugs that you inject. Inject means you take a needle and you inject it like that. Intravenous drug users are way more at risk for HIV. All right, cool. You guys are familiar with the common cold. Here's a question. Why do we not take antibiotics for the common cold? Why do antibiotics not work?
Because it's caused by viruses.
Good, because the cold is caused by a virus, and as we've learned, antibiotics don't do anything for viruses. So when you have a cold, you usually have to wait it out. You have to stay healthy and hope that you get better. Let's see, Ebola, genital herpes is a virus, influenza. What's the short name that we use for influenza in English? What's the abbreviation?
I think common cold.
Good guess. It's not that. Influenza, we also call what? Anyone know? It's the flu. The flu. Yeah. Influenza is the flu. And so every year there comes out a different flu shot. I always go and get my flu shot to keep me from getting the flu. So do you guys get a flu shot where you live?
No.
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 Yeah. In the U.S., we do a lot of immunizations, so we do flu shots every year. Every year. All right, and
we
then
have that shot, but people usually they do it in schools, but normally grown-up people, they are lazy. They don't. Nobody.
Yeah, that's true. It's true in the U.S. too. We have a shot, and I always get it, but not everyone.
Yeah.
You know, not everyone always gets it. And then, yeah, of course, measles. In the U.S., we are vaccinated for measles when we are babies, but I learned that that's not true in Europe or in a lot of places in Asia. So, again, some people maybe are susceptible to measles and some people are not. And let's see, what else was I going to ask? No, I can't remember. Okay, so does anyone have any questions about the difference between viruses and bacteria or anything that we've talked about so far?
How do they travel?
Good question. So I think, yeah, that's a really good question. I guess I just assumed that they travel in the bloodstream. But we also have a lot of vessels in our body that are part of what we call the lymphatic system. And that's a whole nother system where fluids can travel through our body. So I would guess that pathogens use both of those systems. Yeah, how do they travel? I guess that's how they get around. But of course, the lymphatic system is also the home of a lot of our immune system cells. So so a lot of pathogens get destroyed through the lymphatic system. Any other questions or thoughts, stuff you guys want to say?
I mean, outside the body, do they? I think they don't have.
Oh, outside the body.
Yeah, if they have just genes, they don't have any organ to move.
Good. Okay. So pathogens usually, any infectious agents usually travel in the air. They travel in the air or they travel in body fluids. So a virus like HIV is found in blood, semen, other body fluids. But something like the tuberculosis bacterium, that's carried in the air.
Yeah, sometimes. Okay.
Yeah, I think just because they're very light, they travel very easily in the air, a lot of it. And obviously on surfaces. So on tables, on railings, anything that people touch.
Carpets.
Obviously, yeah, carpets. Bad stuff can live on surfaces for a good amount of time, which is why we need to make sure to, clean off the counter before we cook dinner and things like that.
But we don't get the HIV virus from air. If it travels through air, we should.
Exactly, yes. So HIV we don't, and a lot of other viruses we don't get through the air. And I think that's just because they don't live in the air. I'm not sure exactly why some things travel in the air and some travel in body fluids, but it's definitely true that it's separate. So good question. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Okay.
All right. Anything else before we keep going? All right. Let's do a little quiz. This is just to go over some more medical vocabulary. I'm throwing a lot of vocabulary at you guys today, so make sure to write some of it down to help yourself remember so that you can keep all these words in your head. So let's do this little quiz together. I think it's pretty useful. It's about taking medicine and what to do when you're sick. And I'll zoom in a little bit. All right, can you guys see that? It's still pretty small. Well, I'll give you the link anyway so you can look at it yourself. Okay, cool. Here's the link in case you want to open it on your own screen. And oh man, I missed what Ahmed had written in the verbling classes earlier when he said, "Did you hear about the Cholula hot sauce syndrome?" I think maybe, I'm not sure, maybe he read my blog because I have this really horrible addiction to this brand of hot sauce called Cholula, and I have to put it on everything that I eat. I actually have it right here.
Oh.
And so I always eat this, and so I think if I stopped eating it, I would probably have Cholula hot sauce syndrome. But we'll have to look up how that works medically. I'm not sure. Anyway, all right, cool.
Do you eat spicy foods?
Yes, I love everything spicy. I love it. Yeah. All right. So let's see how much of this quiz we can do before we have to finish up. Let's see. So it says fill in the gaps using specific vocabulary. And then here are the words that it wants us to use. This is our little word bank. So we can use course, dose, prescription, pharmacist, symptoms, or side effects. So it says, if you are ill, your doctor may give you a blank to take to a blank.
Prescription.
Good. Okay. Prescription. To take to a
Pharmacist.
Pharmacist.
Good. And what is the name of the store where the pharmacist works?
Pharmacy.
Good. A pharmacist, and the pharmacist works at the pharmacy. All right. You may need to take a blank of medicine before each meal.
Dose of medicine.
Good. A dose of medicine before each meal. If the medicine is not working, you may need to increase the
dose.
Yeah, dose again. There's enough. We can say dose, or we can also say for that second one, you could also say dosage. You could say increase the dosage with AGE. Increase the dose or the dosage. All right. Always finish the blank of medicine.
Course.
Good. Always finish the course of medicine. Here's a question. With antibiotics, why is it important to finish the course of the antibiotics? Why is it important to take all of them?
Because they may
germ completely.
They develop a bacterial resistance.
Good. Okay, that's what I was looking for. So you need to take all of your antibiotics so that the bacteria in your body do not develop resistance. Bacterial resistance means if some bacteria are still left alive, those bacteria can reproduce and make you sick all over again. But this time, these bacteria are resistant to antibiotics, so it's harder to kill them. So you want to kill all the bacteria at once and stop being sick completely so that the few bacteria that are left do not reproduce and make you sick again. And so we want to make sure that we don't develop bacterial resistance, or more commonly called antibiotic resistance. We don't want to be resistant to antibiotics.
Usually I just take 1 or 2 pills and I can get well.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, is a lot of times you feel better, and so you're inclined to stop taking it. And my parents always yell at me because I always say, oh, it's okay, I've been taking it for 3 days, I feel totally better. And they're like, you have to take the whole 10 days, like, I'm going to make you take it. So I always take mine. I always take all of mine, which is good.
But they also kill the, like you said,
the good bacteria.
Good bacteria.
Yeah.
I don't take all of them usually, and I don't get sick again. I don't know.
Well, that's good. The best course, I mean, from a medical perspective, the best thing to do is to take the whole course, take them all, but also you should be eating a lot of yogurt, actually, or taking
another medicine.
A culture supplement to replenish your the bacteria in your body. So that's the best course of action. But the best thing is also to not take antibiotics unless you really need to. To use them sparingly. All right, let's continue with this quiz. The next question says, if you experience any blank, tell your doctor.
Side effects.
Good, side effects. So those are bad things that happen when we take a medication, some unwanted side effects. All right, if your blank persists, go back to your doctor.
Symptoms.
Good, symptoms. Okay. And if you have a long-term illness or condition, you may need a repeat
course.
Yeah, I think it's course. All right, good. Any questions about those?
No.
All right, that's all some pretty good vocabulary, so I'm glad you guys are, I'm impressed that you guys are pretty good with that. All right, this is a little harder. Types of medicine. Write down illnesses for each group of medicines. So here's our word bank again, and we need to write down which illness can be cured by the given medicine. So what illness or what problem can we cure with painkillers?
Pain.
Not too bad, right? All right, for pain, we use painkillers like aspirin, ibuprofen, they actually spelled that wrong, or acetaminophen, Tylenol. All right, cool. For what disease do we use decongestant, cough medicine, or cough drops?
Allergies.
Coughs and colds.
Good, coughs and colds. All right, for what do we use antihistamines?
Allergies.
Good, allergies. And what do antihistamines do?
It will
Indigestion.
make vasodilatation.
Yeah, they lower the irritation. They lower, because allergies are when our body responds to something, let's say dust. There's dust and we get all sniffy and puffy and, can't breathe and stuff. It's because our body is responding too much to something that's not a bad thing. Our body is not supposed to freak out when there's dust. But if you have allergies, it means your body's like, whoa, like dust. And so you need to take antihistamines to lower your immune response to that harmless substance. So yeah, it gets everything less irritated and less swollen and everything. Okay, next one, antacid and indigestion tablets.
Indigestion.
Good, yeah, for indigestion. So if you're having stomach aches because of something that you ate, you can take antacid or indigestion tablets. All right, for what do we use antibiotics?
Infection.
Infectious.
Good, that's what we've been talking about this whole class, infections. Good. All right, for what do we use insulin?
Diabetes.
Good, diabetes. And I'm planning on teaching another verbling class exclusively about diabetes in the next couple of weeks because it's a really interesting disease to study. So stay tuned for that one because there's a lot we can talk about with diabetes. All right, for what do we use tranquilizers and sedatives?
And anxiety.
Yeah, anxiety. And relatedly, for what do we use antidepressants?
Depression.
Good, depression. And anxiety and depression, we can use those medications. What are some other ways besides medications that we can treat anxiety and depression?
Deep breath.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Deep breath. Take a deep breath.
Yeah, okay. So basically like therapy, talking about it, therapy. Yeah, did someone say music? Any kind of like relaxation or meditation or emotional therapy. Yeah,
to go to a psychologist.
What do... Oh, okay, you're here still.
Sorry, I'm here, yeah.
Okay. What do
antidepressants?
Yeah, antidepressants do to help you?
Good question. So I'm not really familiar with this, so I'm not going to give you a great answer. You can look it up, and I'll look it up later. But basically, a lot of times people who suffer from what we call clinical depression have an imbalance in their brain. They probably have too much of some neurotransmitter or too little of another neurotransmitter. And so antidepressants work on the chemical imbalances that might exist in your brain. Obviously, we don't really understand the human brain. The brain is very complex. And so antidepressants certainly do not work for everyone. Sometimes they make it worse. Sometimes they make it better. And so they're a very, very inexact, weird medication. And in the United States, we prescribe them a lot, but a lot of times they don't work. So, yeah, my answer is they work on like neurotransmitter stuff, but it's not that accurate of a science yet.
They act on...
That was a great answer.
Sorry, what were you starting to say? I can't read your name because it's not...
my name is Muhammad.
Okay, Muhammad, sorry.
They act on serotonin receptors in the brain, and they make it more increase. So this serotonin it make the human body or make the human being more happy or like that.
Yeah. So Exactly. It's working on the neurotransmitter and hormonal imbalances in the brain.
Yes.
And sometimes, yeah, people don't have enough serotonin receptors, and so it can help upregulate them, which, again, we could teach a whole class on that. But for now, it's just interesting to think about. Okay, so that's all that we have time for today. If you have questions, you can always ask me on my Facebook page, facebook.com/LibbyVerbling, which most of you know by now. And I really look forward to seeing you guys soon. I have 2 classes tomorrow on current events, and then a bunch of classes next week, some stuff on the healthcare system, some stuff on the news. So I would love to see you guys again soon, and I hope you'll come back for more of my classes.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. It was nice.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye-bye.